Welcome everybody. My name is Michael and today we're discussing about Bitcoin. That is correct. My dream is to own plenty of Bitcoin ATMs to bring cryptocurrency to those who might not fully understand it just yet. You see, we have to help with mass adoption, and that's why we're going to go into details today about running a cryptocurrency ATM business, what my plan hopefully is in the next few months, or if not, next year. We're going to discuss about Bitcoin ATM franchising and how possibly with the help of a subscriber and his investment, we're going to be able to put up a single ATM as a test project pretty soon, and then hopefully expand from there. So let's begin. Today we are in Glenview. Let me show you how it looks. Good thing I have these noise canceling headphones because there was just a car honking. Absolutely hate tinnitus, but we have to go outside, so it helps protect our ears. Yeah, it's a nice little, beautiful community. Nice suburbs that way. We're going to Jimmy John's. Check this out. Look at that, that's so cool. There's some old arcades in there. That's awesome. Even cooler. Look at that. Half-Life 2. Fallout, Pac-Man, old TVs, Mario. Cool. One of the problems with Bitcoin ATMs are regulation. It's definitely going to get stiffer as we go more into the future, and we already see that in America. So one of my favorite websites, Coin ATM Radar, we're just going to be going through what the revenue and costs would be to run a Bitcoin ATM, and one of the most expensive parts is regulation. Now, if you live in an area where you don't have much regulation or there practically is none, you are lucky. Now, there might be other stuff which could be on the pros and cons list depending on your location, such as, hey, there's not a lot of regulation, but there's also not a lot of people that are going to be purchasing from me because maybe the area doesn't have a lot of internet. Maybe there's not a lot of people. Maybe there's, basically barely anybody knows about Bitcoin. There's corruption. There's a lot of thieves. I have no idea, but there's so many reasons that could be leading to no regulation, but there's still plenty of safe areas in the world where there's a lot of very wealthy people who are understanding and they know about Bitcoin, and the governments just are relaxed because they understand, well, all right, we might make a little bit of money from taxes from the civilians that are going to be purchasing and selling Bitcoin, but we're just going to let it grow and see where it goes. So in America, that's not the case. It used to be the case a few years ago. In Poland, it still is. There's regulation, but it's definitely much more relaxed than in America. So when you're trying to start up a US Bitcoin ATM, it depends which state you're in. Certain states have much stricter regulation policies, such as New York, and you'd think, hey, New York City is a great place to have Bitcoin ATMs until you realize there's a lot of paperwork involved. And it's expensive. Oh man, is it expensive. So let's just look at this. It's recommended to start with getting legal advice on local regulation, or you can just do the research yourself. But I've already noticed that for the state of Illinois, for example, you might need $100,000, where in St. Louis, if you just walk across the border from Illinois, it's going to be a few $100s. In Wisconsin, it's going to be $10,000. It all depends on which state you're in. Now, of course, you're still going to need to pay for applications to make sure that you have enough money. You're going to have to get a license. It really gets complicated, but there's definitely some more expensive states. All Bitcoin ATM operators have to register with FinCEN. It takes 60 minutes. Before applications to the FinCEN operator, you need to develop an AML KYC policy. This could be very cheap. This could be very expensive. If you go the expensive route, most likely you're a business that can afford it. You're going to have to maintain compliance policies. There's going to be annual checkups. Operators also need to check legal status for operating a Bitcoin ATM at a state level. Some states regulate Bitcoin operators as not money transmitters. However, some take a stance that Bitcoin ATM operators fall under requirements to have a license. It's good practice to approach your state regulators with no action letter explaining why Bitcoin machine operators are not a money transmitter, but that's not going to happen overnight. There's going to be ongoing compliance reviews. This could be very expensive. It all depends, but legal costs can be anything from a few $1,000s to hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're going to have hardware costs. This is actually purchasing the Bitcoin ATM. You're going to have two-way machines, which are going to be more expensive. You're going to have cheaper one-way ATMs. All of these will cost thousands of dollars. They're going to be much cheaper if you're buying in bulk, but you're not going to find something for a few $100s. Sometimes you see international shipping is that, a few $100s to $1,000, but most likely you're not going to be doing international shipping. There are routes to take to get Bitcoin ATMs within the US, if you're in the US, of course. And there are ATMs that might cost you $20,000, but the average cost would probably be $5,000 to $10,000. Now, there are also going to be payments that you have to make, for example, to the operators, to the producers of these Bitcoin ATMs, and let's see where that is. Here we go, Bitcoin manufacturer cost. Genesis coin machines, 1% from every transaction. General Bytes, 0.5% from turnover. If you're using their servers, you could use your own. BitAccess, 20% from earned fees. That's a lot. Llama-Su is $100 per month, which, that's if you have the support. It could be very cheap. It could be very expensive depending on your location. You might have customer support services, or you can do it yourself. If you have a lot of people working for you, or you have a lot of time, you're able to do that yourself. You need some liquidity that's required for the operation. So if you're planning to do around $60,000 in volume per month per ATM, you need a lot more funds. You need at least $30,000, maybe $50,000, but if you're planning to do half of that, you might get away with $10,000 to $15,000 in both fiat and Bitcoin funds that are locked up and ready for usage. And there's going to be a weekly turnover cycle, so you're going to have to replenish them if they're two-way. You're going to have cash collection services. You might do it yourself. You might bring a gun to protect yourself, or you might have some Navy commandos. Just kidding, but some security guards that are going to follow you if you're in a sketchy area and you don't want to get robbed. You're going to have rent payments. This is very important. It depends on the location. Very rarely you're going to have some store operator or a restaurant owner who believes in the mission of Bitcoin and is going to let you do it for free, but usually it's going to cost you a few $100s, sometimes even thousands of dollars if it's in a mall. If it's near like a truck stop, somewhere that's super busy with lots of gas stations and McDonald's and fast food and all of this stuff, hotels. If it's right next to a casino, if it's at an airport, there's a lot of these super high traffic areas, but they might be bringing in tens of thousands of dollars per month. So if you're paying $2,000 but you're making $10,000 profit, that might be worth it. You're going to have to market, you're going to have to promote this machine, but honestly, me as a marketer, I'm going to be able to do it for free. So it's not going to cost much. Sales volume. Operators reported on average a machine brings roughly $30,000 a month in transaction volume. Some operators reported it's lower to $20,000, $25,000. Some go up to $100,000, depending on your rates. That could be $10,000, that could be $20,000 profit, or it could be $2,000 profit. So there's so many factors. Obviously, location is going to be huge. If you choose the right location, you're able to figure out within a month or two if it's the right fit, or if you need to move. Most of these Bitcoin ATMs are going to be used for buying with cash, or will want to purchase Bitcoin. There's very few that are selling. The average transaction size is probably going to be $100 to $350, but you might have people who come in and they want to do $10,000, and you're going to have to, depending on KYC. In Poland, there's not going to be any ID verification. In America, you're going to have to verify, and I've seen companies do. If you're under $200, you don't need to verify. If it's $200 to $1,000, you're going to need to verify. If it's like over $1,000, they're going to need your social security number and ID and like everything about you. And if it's over $10,000, you need to call them and set up a special meeting or whatever. There could be change in volume based on price and fluctuation. Selling Bitcoin to machines is not popular. It's usually 10% of volume, while transaction size is higher. Some operators reported slightly increased volume in transactions due to price increases. You're also going to have to figure out what's a good amount of Bitcoin to hodl while the volatile price swings are happening, because you might lose money if you're holding too much Bitcoin for too long and your rates are too low. Now, if your rates are high, you're still always going to be profitable, but there might not be enough traffic if your rates are too high. It really all depends. You might have one good month, you might have a really bad month. All right, so there's definitely a lot of factors involved here. What am I planning to do? One thing we did not discuss is franchising, and there are franchises out there, just like Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, where you have to pay a little bit, or actually a lot in those cases, but in this case, it's not going to be too much. If you have a location, some other company, some other third party is able to come in and set up these Bitcoin ATMs and then you just pay them on a monthly basis, or they take a percentage of your profits. In many cases, that's going to be a lot, but hey, if you have to fork up $100,000 or more for licensing costs, that's going to be a huge problem. And you still have to deal with everything involved in operating a Bitcoin ATM. So if you take a franchise and you just pick a location and you're paying the rent, or it's your own location, you're able to make a few $100 to maybe even $1,000, $2,000, or a few $1,000s at the highest point per month, even with a franchise. And that might make sense for states like Illinois or New York, or states where it's super difficult with the legal cost and you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars laying around. So that's what me and my partner are planning to do, and we're going to do a test run with one Bitcoin ATM, hopefully nearby, somewhere locally for me, hopefully within the next few months, and we're going to see how that goes. If it does well, we're going to put in a second one nearby. Not too close, but there's still definitely a lot of area to cover here. It's still not super saturated. Now, in other states, what we might plan to do is stay away from franchising if the costs are low, and we might take more profits that way. But for Illinois, again, it's just so complex and so expensive that a franchise might actually make a lot more sense here because, again, we're not super rich. We don't have six figures just lying around. Otherwise, I'd be making videos in my Ferrari. So we're going to test that out. And once we go further into this, once I have more information, I'm going to be making more videos with details, and hopefully in the future you're going to see me using my own Bitcoin ATM machine and making videos how we're making a few $100s per month in profit or even more, and then we're going to be putting in more machines so we're able to make a few grand per month. But for right now, that's all the information I can give you, since again, in America it varies so greatly that honestly in the future I hope when I come back to Poland in the future that we're going to have some Bitcoin ATMs over there, because it's a lot easier over there. Regulation is the biggest problem.
A nice warm day today. Feel great. Thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. And as always, invest in crypto. Safely, of course. See you next one tomorrow. Bye.